Welcome to Hate to Wait, where two lifelong dieters talk about their current struggles with weight loss. Diets, we've tried them all. We are not doctors. We don't play them on TV or on this podcast. Join our journey because misery loves company.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, John. I haven't figured out what to do with that misery loves company line yet. So if anyone has any recommendations, let us know, because I don't think we're miserable. I don't think many of us are miserable. Even when you fall off the wagon, I think with the group, it's more like company loves company.
Yeah, no. And in our group, we had someone come in and talk about how they had fallen off the wagon. And then we had kind of had like a little conversation in there. And I'm guilty of this, is that while you're going to fall off the wagon, they say, why don't you come in before you do that? And as I thought about that, I was like, you know why I don't do it before? Because I want to fall off that wagon.
You're like, if I'm going to do it, if I've already had this thought.
I want to fall off the wagon. Like I'm leaning over the side and I'm tucking and getting ready to tuck and roll off the wagon.
Not to say that this member did that, but it's something that I've done, that I know I've done, where I'm just like, all right, if I'm going to fall off this wagon, I'm going to do it. And it's not just going to be one little bite. It's going to be the whole package.
Yeah, if I'm going to get dirty.
That is
going to get dirty.
I know.
One of the things that's been going on with me is I've had problems with my back, and I haven't been sleeping in my bed, and I thought it was because the box spring was kind of worn out, and so the box spring, so it was I sleep on my side. I'm a side sleeper.
This episode brought to you by Casper Mattress.
Yes.
No.
So it was hurt my back and my knees and everything, and so what I did was I went out and I bought a thing that takes away the box spring, and you just put the mattress on top. So we put that together yesterday, and it is lovely. So I actually slept in a bed last night, and I'm telling you, it was tough getting up this morning. Like I went to bed last night around 11:30.
Yeah.
My alarm goes off at 8:30, and I just shut the alarm off, and I fell back asleep again. And the next thing I knew, I woke up, and it was 10 o'clock. And I was
John, that never happens for you.
No. So, I feel all peppy and I feel alert, and I haven't had any coffee yet. So, you know what?
I'm so happy for you.
A good night's sleep is amazing. Jennifer in the chat has asked me what kind of mattress I have. I didn't get a new mattress. I just got a new bed frame that was solid that I could throw my mattress on, because it was kind of like a hammock and it wasn't working well. So I used my original mattress, and it's working out well so far. We'll see what happens. Yes. So I got a good night's sleep, and I feel better, and I'm peppy, and Facebook is being a jerk right now. But besides that, how was your week?
My week, I always feel put on the spot by this, and I know it's coming every week.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, it's not your fault. It's me. It was good. I have kind of hit a slump with weight loss for the past few weeks, where the scale hasn't moved. I haven't really noticed much of a difference, but I've noticed myself getting bored more often during my window and doing bored eating. And I think that's been a sign to me. I think it's been a number of weeks where I've been getting the signs to shorten my window. It's been 8 hours, and I'm pretty good about those 8 hours. In fact, it's probably closer to 7 most days. But I think I'm going to shorten my window just to shake things up. My body is probably used to 8 hours. But when I say I'm getting bored and eating, I didn't have that before. When I was doing intermittent fasting at first, 8 hours seemed like a very short window of time. And so when I ate, it was, I'm going to eat a meal for lunch, and then I'm so satisfied because I got to eat all I wanted for lunch because my window opened, and you can do that. And then I would have maybe a snack, but sometimes not. Sometimes I didn't have a snack, and I would go right into dinner and eat all I would want for dinner. And then my window would close, and I would be fine. And then lately, there's been kind of this gap between lunch and dinner where I can't necessarily get work done because I'm with the kids, but I also don't necessarily, we're not running around or out anywhere. We're just kind of at home hanging out, and there are snacks. And I've been really good about getting more vegetables and putting those in the fridge and trying to snack on those first, and putting the carrots and the apples and the strawberries and all those good things in there. But there's also crap in our house, and that's for my husband and the kids. And I'm not, I feel bad because they're not necessarily dieting. My kids don't need to diet. They do eat healthy. They like their fruits and vegetables somewhat. But I mean, we have crap in the house. We have like the packages of crackers that they can grab and eat, and they're fine. I'm not worried about, the thing with them, I'm not seeing the same patterns of eating as I know I had as a kid. So I'm not really worried about them. But for me, having those packages there, it's like, well, it's intermittent fasting. I might as well. And I'll sit there and I'll be bored eating again. And I really haven't had that in a long time. So I realized I think I need to shorten my window and get more food in that concentrated window so that it's like during the hours I can eat, I'm not bored eating because I'm still full from this big lunch, or I'm about to eat this huge dinner, so I don't really want to snack as much on crap. So I shortened it to 6 hours. So now I go from about 12:30 or 1 to about 6:30 or 7. And it's worked out. I think it's done well. I felt hungry again during my fasting time. So that's been interesting. I haven't had that in a while.
Interesting? It sucks.
Well, no, because I know what it is now. That was the thing with me. I didn't know what hunger was for a long time. I didn't know what real hunger was. It was bored eating.
That's true, yeah. Oh, I see. You're saying you're really hungry. You're hungry where, like, something that's just food.
Like, I would eat an apple.
Yeah.
That's
how you know you're hungry, yeah.
That's how I know I'm hungry, because I never want an apple.
Right.
But when you're hungry,
you're like, where's those apples?
The first time I ever felt that, I went on a hike, and we got back down from the hike, and I was, of course, out of shape, but I was thinner than I was now, so I was able to do a hike. And we got to the bottom, and my friend had gone to the store and gotten an apple, and it was the most delicious apple I had ever had. And that's how I knew what real hunger was. And that was in college. Like that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And the thing was, growing up, and I'm probably going to talk about this in the next few weeks. I'm reading this book called The Soul of Money. And it's actually all about our relationship with money, how we look at money, and the ideas that we've grown up with money. And for me, money and food always went together, because when I was younger, we would go through periods where we would have, well, we actually didn't have a lot, but to get very personal. So my mom is bipolar. When she would go through some of her manic episodes, she would take the charge card and she would buy a bunch of things. And this is, she would just go out and just spend the money because we have credit cards, and she didn't think about the consequences. And this is something that has to do with her disease. This isn't my mom, and I have to remember that. And the thing was, during that time, it was very much feast, and we would eat food, and we would go to great restaurants, and we would eat foods, and my dad wouldn't realize it until after. And then once he realized, and once he got that credit card bill, there were fights. And then we had very lean months where I got the same thing in my lunch every day. I was fed. That's the thing I have to remember, was I was fed. I was never hungry, but it was like, well, sorry that you're going to have peanut butter and jelly for 3 weeks in a row, and maybe an apple, or maybe this, because we really can't afford anything else. And that carried on with me. And I'm realizing from reading this book and getting sort of in touch with those memories about money and feast and famine, it relates to food for me as well. Is I'm always worried that there won't be enough food, or that I'll miss out on food, or I might as well eat it all now before, my dad finds out that we spent all this money and then we don't have any more. And it's a book where I've been ugly crying a lot through, of just like, oh my gosh, it's me. So I really recommend that book. But just to think about it in terms of food and how much that has affected me, I worry that my boredom eating really comes out of that feast or famine thing of, I might as well eat it now. And I've gotten with chips and stuff, I might as well eat these chips now because we're not going to have the money to afford them later. And that's still weirdly in my head anyway. But
no, I get it.
Sorry for the deep dive. I didn't mean to get that deep. But
no, but here's what I think is fantastic about this. What you're doing now is really helping you on this journey, because we all know how to eat. We all know how to diet. We all know how to do all this stuff. But what we don't know is what is in our brains to turn that switch on to make us say, I want to fall off the wagon. And you're on a path now to starting to figure that out. And I got to tell you something. The other day, you had bought a box of veggie burgers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, look at that. I wouldn't eat those. And she said, and you're like, what would I put on them? And I'd be like, chlorine, and throw it in the trash. But no, anyhow.
I love everyone who came in and was like, meat.
Yeah.
Meat.
So I didn't say anything, but I was talking to my ex-wife and we were talking about something. And she said, I saw the picture of Emily with the veggie burgers. And I went, yeah. And she goes, I don't come in the group and everything. She goes, but my God, her face is so thin now. You can really see it in her face. And I said, I know she's doing fantastic. She's doing great work. This podcast isn't about how to lose weight. It's about the journey we're on, the self-reflection and everything you're doing to do that. And now, like, people are looking and they see it and they're like, wow, look how thin her face is right now. So even though you might have a problem with the scale, these are non-scale victories that you can't, that I really don't think we should. Again, I hate the scale. I'm really starting to hate the scale. I love the fact that you're reading about this. I don't know about the ugly crying, but that's okay. If you need to ugly cry, that's okay.
I hate that my husband's just like, you're so cute when you cry. And I'm like, no,
I can't take women crying. I can't take anyone crying. And I was like, whatever, what do I got to do?
Yeah, that's him also. It's just like, how can I fix it? What can I do?
Yeah.
And for the most part, I'm just like, just play with my hair, rub my head, and call me pretty. That's all I need.
Okay, I get that. Yeah. So, I mean, all this that you're doing right now is just reinforcing your good habits, which will take you into a better lifestyle and a more healthier lifestyle. And I couldn't be more proud of you over this. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I really think that it's weird to say this is the weight loss journey that has been the longest for me. And probably the deepest too, because every other time I was losing weight, I wasn't thinking about all the other factors that contributed to that weight loss or weight gain. It wasn't until I had an eating coach, Harriet, who we've had on the show, when she started asking me about my parents and how they ate. I didn't think of those factors until she started asking me about it. I didn't think, like when you're growing up, you're just like, I'm my own person. I'm not my parents. They can't control me and I'm going to rebel against them. And then you realize that, yeah, you're rebelling against them maybe in conversations and maybe with ideology, but a lot of their habits sneak in there and you don't realize it until you're getting older. And there are things that I'm doing now and that I'm seeing, like me on Instagram. I did not make the connection that, oh yeah, my mom used to take photographs all the time and make beautiful photo albums all the time. That's what I'm doing on Instagram. And I didn't even realize it. It's just a different version of it. It's weird that we do repeat what our parents have given us and what we grew up with, and we don't realize it until we really sit back and look at it.
Well, you are your parents, and you have children right now, and you probably have seen this already with your daughter or your son. They'll do something that you haven't taught them yet, and it'll be something exactly that you do or exactly like your husband does. And the reason that they're doing it is it's a genetic thing. They've picked this behavior up or whatever from you. You didn't teach it. It's almost genetic. It's not learned. Yeah. And, when you say these things happen and you don't realize that it's your mom, a lot of times it's because it's part of you. It's part of your DNA. And this is why you're doing these things. And it's the same thing with me. My parents, when they divorced when I was 17, and it was horrible. It was a horrible divorce that they went through, fighting and yelling and they hated each other. And it was, even though we were, my sister was 15, I was 17 at the time. When they went through this, it was just a real tough situation to go through. And you find, that kind of stuff, which kind of drove me into trying to find something to comfort me or whatever. And that's where the food addiction really started to rear its ugly head. And then once they split up and I started living on my own or not around them anymore, there wasn't anybody around there. So the only thing that was comforting was food. It was my go-to thing. I hated drinking. When I first started, in New Jersey at the time, the drinking age was 18. So, like with me, I did everything in excess. The only problem was alcohol made me violently ill and I hated throwing up. So we're not doing that. I don't have the constitution for that. And then I was very anti-drug when I grew up. So I wasn't doing that. Back then, porn was hard to get a hold of, so I couldn't do that.
Thank goodness for technology. Technology is spurred on by porn. It's true.
Food was always there. Food was always obtainable. I could always go down to the corner store. I remember being able to go to the corner store and for $3 be able to get a large, full-size, what we call a hoagie, a submarine sandwich, a soda, and a bag of chips. That might have been $2. I think the hoagie was $1, the chips and the soda, and you had change. So you could always scrape together $2. You could always go in the couch and cushions and go in mom and dad's pockets and find $2 worth of coins and go down there and eat. To me, that was my go-to thing. Now the problem is walking that back and figuring out how to do something different, changing the behavior, changing the addiction.
And what I'm finding in doing all of this now is that it's so much easier to add in good habits, little good habits, than try to stop a bad habit cold turkey.
Yeah, I agree with that. So one of the things that I've been doing this week is I had groceries and I was looking at, okay, what could I eat that's kind of low carb? So the strawberries are out now and they are fabulous. So I bought a bunch of them and I have them all cut up. So then I can go in, instead of ice cream, I can have strawberries with a little bit of artificial sweetener on them, and they're amazing. So that, for me, that was it. And then I have the sweet potatoes that I bake, and they're sitting in there. So there's something that I can grab. So when I go upstairs, I go, well, nothing here. I might as well get in the car and go somewhere. Now I go up there and I go, oh, well, there's sweet potatoes, there's strawberries, there's tuna fish, there's egg salad. There's all this stuff that's here. So I can always just grab something and sit down and eat. And that has been the biggest change for me. So the problem with me is to be able to stay in front of that and preparing food than anything else.
Yeah. And I even did the thing in college when I started smoking. This was, 18-year-olds are really dumb, I gotta say.
I remember you vaping, but I don't ever remember. I don't think I can handle smoking, Emily.
I loved smoking, actually. Because nobody expected it from me.
I know.
It was the most fun to go outside. And I smoked for 10 years. It was the most fun to go outside and be like, hey, guys, what's going on? And they'd hide their cigarettes. And all of a sudden I'd pull out my pack and take. Oh, I loved it. I loved freaking people out with that. But anyway, 18-year-old Emily was stupid. And the reason I started smoking was I was hungry. And my friend looked at me and she's like, if you started smoking, because all my friends were smokers and I wasn't, they were like, if you started smoking, you wouldn't have as much of an appetite. Oh. And then fat Emily, her whole life, hearing that she was fat and she ate too much, a light bulb went off, a very stupid light bulb went off. And she was like, okay, well, I could spend $5 at that point on a pack of cigarettes, or I could spend $5 on something to eat. And when I've had a cigarette, it made me feel so sick that, of course, I didn't want to eat. And it would only, I would smoke 2 cigarettes a day. $5 will definitely last me much longer than this $5 for food. So let me start smoking. And it's like, I have to undo so many of those stupid ideas just a little bit at a time. And then, so I switched to vaping about 5 years ago to get off of cigarettes, and to get off of cigarettes in a way that I wouldn't go to food, because when I was pregnant with my daughter, I quit cold turkey, went to food, gained about 50, 60 pounds, finally lost that because I started smoking again when, she was out of me and older. And then I was like, I really don't want to smoke anymore. And then I went to vaping and I was like, okay, I still get the nicotine. I still get the appetite suppressant. This is good. It tastes sweet. So, okay. And then it was a better habit because I got some of my voice back. I'm not saying it's great. I hate the trend right now that kids are going straight to vaping and they're like, oh, vaping's cool. It's like, no, the only reason I vaped is because I was stupid enough to try cigarettes. come on.
I know it's, again, technology, not so great this time. And I'll be honest with you, once I go through the surgery, I'm a little nervous on what I might try to pick up as a different habit. Hopefully, maybe I'll get into exercise. Maybe that'll be my new go-to thing. That would be nice if that happens.
I feel like you should go live more. I feel like every time you want to eat, you should go live in the group.
Oh, I'd be in there all day. No, that's not true.
Not every time you want to eat, but I mean every time you want to eat badly.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Not in a bad way, but because people want to see the journey and they're curious. I think it's an interesting dynamic because as podcasters, we're in this new sort of field of, it's a very intimate relationship that we have with our listeners. And nothing has prepared us for something like, hey, you can go live in a group of 200 people, have 9 or 10 people watch you once a week and interact. And during the week, they still want to hear from you. They still want to know what's going on. I couldn't believe the response I got just posting that picture of what do I put on a veggie burger. And I actually had amazing answers that I had never thought of and would never think of. And thank goodness I didn't do a Google search, because this is much more the answers from people in our group who I know, who I've talked to. These are the suggestions that I'm most likely going to take, as opposed to doing a Google search and seeing something like, oh, just put garlic mayonnaise on it. I'd be like, yeah, sounds fine. But, maybe Jennifer said, put some garlic mayonnaise on it. And I'd be like, if Jennifer says it's good, yeah, I'm there.
Well, my thing was I saw someone say, chop it up and put it in a salad. I was like, that actually is a pretty good idea.
Yeah. I got to say, veggie burgers, as long as you don't think of the word burger, I'm fine with them. I don't care.
Okay.
As long as you don't expect meat or expect any kind of meat taste. I was expecting a veggie sandwich. It's a veggie patty. Like, I wasn't.
Yeah, it should be compressed vegetable patty instead of burger. That's what it should be. And then you'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. See, what the thing is about going live when you do so, I could do live more, but sometimes, especially when I'm in the throes of, like, you feel like an addict. And when you're in that phase of being an addict, you don't want anybody to see it. It's a very lonely, very, you're doing wrong and you can't stop yourself. It's the weirdest feeling, and you don't want anybody to know. And you'll tell people afterwards that you did it, but you won't tell them before.
I think it's interesting because when you go live, you're held more accountable. That's actually why I went live. Was it Saturday night? I made cookies with my daughter.
Yes.
And it was after my window had closed. And this was after I shortened my window. And so my window was well closed, and we made chocolate chip cookies. It wasn't so much taking the cookies out of the oven that was hard for me. It was getting dough on my hands and being like, I can't just stick it in my mouth. I have to
put that cookie down.
Yes!
Now.
That was me. Yeah, so we made cookies, and I went live as they came out of the oven, actually right as a cookie had crumbled, and I'm like holding the crumbles in my hand, and it feels warm and gooey, and I'm like,
look left, look right.
Yeah. I'm like, but I'll know. And you know what? Let me get my phone. Let me go live. I don't want you guys to feel the pain of seeing food when you're dieting, but at the same time, I kind of need someone to be like, good job not touching them. So I'm like, okay, all right, I've made it apparent that I'm not going to touch this. I'm holding myself accountable. I want to earn those good jobs. It was like going to the doctor's last week and being like, do you exercise every day? Yes, I actually do. And just being excited for that positive praise. It's like, we don't reward bad behavior, but we'll reward good behavior with a good job. And I put the cookies down, and I waited till the next day. And as soon as my window opened, I had 6, and they were delicious.
Okay, so that is great. But what I heard you say, which is something that I got to start looking into more to say to myself, is, I'll know.
Yeah.
I need to get into that. I'll know. I don't care if anybody else knows. I'll know that I fell off the wagon. I'll know that I did something I shouldn't have. When I can start to say, I'll know, then I know I'm starting to get this under control. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what's going on, I'm reading self-help books. I'm doing this podcast. I feel like I'm making conscious efforts to better myself. And in doing so, it's making me like myself more, and having that dialogue of, well, I'll know. It's like, I don't want to disappoint me. I've worked really hard. I've worked really hard to have a good relationship with myself, to not hate myself, to think that dieting and exercise is a punishment, that I want to actually be proud of myself. And sure, there are still some crutches in my life that I'd like to eventually get rid of, but I'm not expecting myself to drop those cold turkey or anything like that.
So what I'm hearing is that you're fixing things that are in your life that really doesn't have anything to do with food. And by doing that, it is giving you a better relationship with food. So actually what's going on here isn't because of the intermittent it is because of intermittent fasting, but not really, because you're making better choices. You're making slow changes. You're making choices in your life to like yourself. And this actually is just a side effect. You being able to like yourself. The weight loss is becoming a side effect of that. And that's great. That's what's going to make it last.
Yeah. I mean, and we've worked so hard. And I think having this podcast is one of those things that in my head, it's not like every other diet where I'm thinking, well, this is fun for right now. It's working. And in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm probably going to get sick of it. But that's okay. I'll gain it back and I'll lose it again because that's just what I do. And right now, I'm just like, I don't want to gain this back. It's not worth gaining it back, even though I know that I can lose it. I don't want to. I don't want to go back on that. I like who I'm becoming. I like this person. I like intermittent fasting. I like not thinking about food for 18 hours out of the day. It's great. It's so good. I love it.
It's nice not being the whole day saying, okay, what am I going to eat next? What am I going to eat next? Mm-hmm. When can I eat next? What am I going to eat next?
Yeah. And then food takes over your whole brain. And I know sometimes I talk about intermittent fasting. It sounds like a commercial. You should all do this. And no, find what works for you. This really works the best for me is not having anybody say you shouldn't be eating that. And it's made me also look at food differently and be like, you know what? That is so overly processed. There's something over there with amazing fresh vegetables and it looks pretty. That's a big thing for me with food is if it looks pretty, I want to eat it. And I deserve it. And I deserve to eat the pretty thing. I don't deserve to run into a gas station and get some crap chips because I'm hungry. It's worth driving a little further and seeing if there's maybe a smoothie place or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like I said, I think you say you're in a stall and maybe your body's adjusting to some things and that's fine. And maybe there's some leaking, but I still think that everything you're doing that doesn't have anything to do with dieting is going to be, it's definitely going to be something that is going to help you down the road. And I do believe that.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Why don't we get into some Winning Wednesdays?
Winning Wednesday, Wednesday, Winning Wednesday, Wednesday, Winning Wednesday, Winning Wednesday, Winning Wednesday, Wednesday.
We have Scotty who is down 12 pounds in 3 weeks. Wow.
Tamara says, after a stressful day at work, instead of eating stress away, I went to the gym for a run.
Oh, I do have to say, so Tamara, I know we're probably still pronouncing your name wrong. She did reach out and she said, where can I send a voicemail to let you know how to pronounce it correctly? We're going to set up a call-in number for the show. John is just hearing about this for the first time. What do you think about a speak pipe for our show?
I like that. Or what about Google call-in?
Google call-in? Yeah,
a Google
we can
number.
Do that.
Yeah.
So we'll have a number if you want to call in, get your voice on the show. Let us know how to pronounce your name. If you want to give us an audio Winning Wednesday, you can.
Oh, I won't have to read it and go over it and screw it up. That's a great idea.
Okay. We will get a phone number out. Maybe by the time this episode is out, I'll put it in the show notes. If I don't put it in the show notes, I'll put a note saying we got lazy and we will do it. We will do it though, because we said it on a podcast. We said it live. So
it has to be done.
It has to be done.
It must be done.
Jennifer's stuck with intermittent fasting 16/8 and eating low carb this week. Hope that it shows when I weigh Saturday morning. Oh, I hope it does.
Jason says, down 2.6 pounds. I changed my weigh-in date to Wednesdays specifically for this.
Yay!
All while trying to fight off a strained foot that has kept me unable to work out for well over a week. Side note, I first logged into MyFitnessPal via Map My Run in 2016. From that initial date, I'm actually down 16 pounds. Granted, that wasn't where I started this most recent time, but it's a side note.
Oh, Jason. That makes me so happy.
Yes.
Because I've known Jason since probably 2016, probably longer.
Yeah, I think so too.
Marty says I'm doing IF and it has been fairly simple and I have worked out every day but one. Yay! And welcome Marty to the group. I love Facebook groups where it gives you that little hand that says new to the group. So welcome, Marty.
I like that too. Zoe said, my win started with a fall off the wagon. I resisted the large chocolate frosted cupcakes in the break room all day, Monday and Tuesday morning, but felt anxious. Tuesday and after lunch, gave in and grabbed a cupcake, then another. I would have had a third, but thankfully by that time they were all gone. Oh, I know that thing. You go back, you open it up, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
The win is that I didn't let it derail the rest of the day like I would have in the past. I compassionately forgave myself, got back on track for the rest of the day. Win!
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. I don't, the word compassionately forgave, like that makes me so happy. I love that. Amy says, I'm down a pound and have made daily walking a part of my life again.
Sarah says, I just got a promotion at work and I'm officially in smaller clothes than I was wearing in 8th grade.
Wow.
That is great.
I actually just threw out a dress a year or two ago that I wore to my 8th grade graduation that I still had and that still fit here and there because it was a 16. And it was, I don't know how classic it was. I think I just loved it so much. It was a brown corduroy jumper that you would wear over maybe a turtleneck. And as I'm describing it, I'm like, no, Emily, that needed to go. That is so 90s right there. So yeah, but Deborah, I stopped eating at 3 p.m. every day this week with no mental drama. Yay.
Julie went to the doctor and I have lost 35 pounds since January. It feels good to buy new clothes.
Yes. Ingrid, I almost did 10,000 steps in one day. This is a personal best for me. Ingrid had the knee surgery, right? No?
No, I don't think she did, but she is definitely a walker. I mean, she's amazing. 5K runs and everything. Always out there exercising. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Brendan, out to lunch this week for my birthday, and my wife took a photo of me. It was noticeable how much thinner I look. Amazing changes in just a single year.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a big difference.
That is. And you know what, Brendan? You probably don't see it as much as we do because that's what happens with pictures. I'll look at pictures side by side and I'm like, I don't see that much of a difference for me and everyone else does.
I'm just going to tell you, 2019, Brandon has dimples.
I know, that's true. Well, I think he's smiling too.
Oh, there you go. See?
And the other thing was smiling. So I know this from a lot of people, larger people, they don't necessarily smile as much in photos because when you smile, it makes your face wider.
Ah.
That's why there are a lot of photos of me going like this. And for the audio listeners, it was me opening my mouth of like, oh, wow, look at this. Because look at that. It elongates.
Yeah, she's doing the Joker over here. She's got the mouth up like a Joker. How about that?
Yeah. Anna said, completed a whole month of no sugar or grains and down 29 in that month. Loving intermittent fasting. Oh, I'm so happy.
And Elizabeth is down 2.6 pounds. Big smiley face.
Woohoo. There were something like 15.
I know. Let's
week.
get that voice line going. That's what I got to say. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for the moment you have all been waiting for. It's time for the weigh-in.
What are we on?
I was just going to say, I have no idea.
We're on episode 57. That's my turn. I'm down 2 pounds.
What? Oh, so you're burying the lead over here.
Because I weirdly wasn't expecting to be down at all because it's Shark Week for me. But
and you're down too?
Yes.
You know what I say to that? That's fantastic.
I know. I think switching to the 6 hours did a good job. And I also find okay, this is weird. And I'm not sure how healthy this is. I weirdly like the feeling of being hungry when I'm fasting. It's like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like. And I'm almost reveling in it of just like, remember what this feels like. This is what hunger is. When you're bored, you don't have this. And it's like, I'm trying to train my brain to get that way because I know that this is actually working. And I promise you, I am getting, if we looked at my calories of the day, I'm definitely still getting about 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day in that 6 hour window. Because if you saw me and I was shoveling food in my face at 12:30 or 1 o'clock, you'd be like, she's not dieting.
Yeah, on my Fitness Pal, it's funny, when I'm kind of off my diet and eating fast food, I'm entering my food more. because I can go in there and just say, okay, burrito, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
But when I have to go in and put strawberries, I'm like, how many strawberries is that? How many, whatever. Is that a cup? Is that 2 cups? I'm not really measuring. So I'm more apt when I'm eating on plan not to put stuff in my Fitness Pal. So I got to start getting better at doing that.
I weirdly think I'm not a dietitian, but if I did have to track all my food at this point, I feel like things like fruit and vegetables, I wouldn't necessarily count all the time because I'd be like, there's no bad vegetable for you. You're not going to get fat if you eat vegetables all day. I'm sure there's a way you can, but I don't know.
That's true because I've been loving strawberries. They are fantastic. And pretty soon the Jersey tomatoes will be in. So that'll be cool too. All right. So up to me, I'm down 2 pounds.
Yeah.
Are we over 75 now?
We sure are. We're at 78, man.
Wow.
78. Okay. Lowest we've been on the show, episode 57. We are negative 78 pounds.
That is pretty cool. I was going to do something real quick. I wanted to look at my phone at my step tracker for yesterday. I don't know if my step tracker will actually show me. Because yesterday with that bed coming in, I had to come in and do, I had to do walk around. Oh, yeah. Yesterday, I was 2,782 steps yesterday. That's a personal best for me. And I am feeling it today. I'm not going to lie.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know, and then I hear Ingrid doing like 10,000 steps. And I'm like, ugh. But you know what? That's great for her. But just being that much for me is something that I've never done before. And not done before, but haven't done in a long, long while. There's times where I haven't had that many steps in a week, or maybe I might even say a month. So it's moving along. I can see little increments. My biggest problem right now is I have a lot of arthritis in my knees and my hips. I made an appointment to go see the orthopedic doctor, and we're going to try to get rid of some of that. And if that works, that means I can start moving around some more. What I was getting was cortisone shots in my knees. So maybe I can get back to that again, and we'll see what happens.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up Ingrid and looking at the steps and then comparing yours, because that was one thing that I've stopped doing. I love looking at Winning Wednesdays. And when we first started doing it, it was really hard for me not to play the comparing game and be like, oh man, they have all these great wins. And then I realized it was taking the fun out of it for me. So then I remember reading something where you actually are much better and more productive if when somebody is talking about a celebrate, like all you have to do is celebrate with them. That's it. You don't compare yourself to them, because they're on a completely different journey than you are as well. If you're trying to, oh, you know what, Ingrid, we're just using you all over the place, but Ingrid did 10,000 steps. Oh man, I'm not walking as much as she is. I'm clearly not doing something correctly. But it's like, I think that's why having more and more people in the group to remind us that we are all doing something different. We're all on a different path. We're all exercising differently or dieting differently. And I think that really helps put that into perspective instead of comparing all the time.
I wasn't really trying to compare, but I just felt weird about bragging about my 3,000 steps.
That's big for you, though. For anybody who's listened to the show, I remember it was like there were days where
I couldn't get 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I feel bad bragging about my 3,000. I didn't want to diminish her 10,000. So I think she's doing great. I wasn't really comparing myself, but I just felt weird about bragging for my 3,000. And, I just didn't want to diminish that for her because that's an amazing job that she did. And then hopefully one day I'm going to get there. I want to get there. I want to be able to go. I honestly, one of my goals that I've never really said to anybody before, and I'm going to say it right now, is to be able to go out and walk a 5K.
Oh my goodness, John, that's one of my goals. I feel like if we get to that point, we need to do a 5K together.
All right, we'll do that.
I will come down and do a 5K there because I've been looking at them around us because I know my daughter, if I just put her on a track and let her run, like she would get 10,000 steps in no problem at all. I have no doubt. So I'm looking for sort of a kid's fun run, 5K run walk that me and her, maybe my husband will do. And we could probably put Cam in the stroller or in the wagon that he loves. Yeah.
Drag him along.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I want to be able to walk a 5K.
Annette, that's perfect. Different paths, but the same end goal to feel healthier and maybe way less than we do now. Sorry for interrupting. I thought you were.
No, you're exactly right. So I never really said anything like that before because I just didn't. There were some points where I didn't find that obtainable. And, right now, like I said, I went through so far, everything, the testing went through. I've got one more round of things to go through, and then I'm through, and all I have to do is either lose weight, go on the liquid diet, and get my date, and then we're off to the races.
I don't know if we mentioned it in this episode, but John is going for bariatric surgery. That's what all this prep is for. So I feel like I just want to remind everyone in case this is your first episode.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I've had a lot of support from the family and friends. So, I want to get this done. Now I'm looking forward to it. I'm anxious. I'm not going to lie.
You get to have the surgery.
Yeah, I know.
It's not, I have to have the surgery. I get to have the surgery.
Yeah. And I just want to say, now I keep saying next year I'm going to be able to do this. And so I'm looking forward to it. All right, everyone. That's the show for today. Boy, we were yammering on.
Oh, I know. I can feel my jaw being like, Emily, shut up.
We've talked enough.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a phone number because we want to hear from you. I can't wait that because we can hear, if Brandon calls in, we can hear his accent. That'll be so cool. I would love that.
I would love if people called us and said, hey, I'm listening to you while I'm walking. Just wanted to leave you a voicemail and tell you, here's my winning Wednesday. I forgot to post something like that.
Yeah, if you're not in the group, it's another way for people not in the group to interact with us too. So that's a great idea. Look at you, Emily, with these great ideas.
This was Tamara that gave me the idea.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that would be great. All right, go ahead.
I'm done.
Are you done? Okay.
I don't want to talk anymore. I'm done now. My jaw doesn't want me to talk anymore.
And if you want to come in and hang with us in the Facebook group, we'd love to have you. Just go to hatetowait.com/Facebook. Join us. And a lot of support and just a great group of people and really appreciate everybody in there. We'll be back here next week, and we hope you are too. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye. Oh, we're back.
And we're back.
Okay. Wait, did I freeze?
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at the Facebook and I'm frozen.
Yeah, you were frozen.
Emily, stop making that face. Never make that face again.
Why is it when you freeze, it's the worst face in the world? That's what I'd like to know. All right, so now I'm totally lost where we were. I remember we were talking about the bed.
John, you're muted.
And then that was that.
John, you're muted. Can
and
you
she's
hear
locked
me?
Up again.
What is going on?
Oh,
Wait,
no,
so
it's going to be one of those episodes.
You're talking. I can't hear you. I'm waiting to see the mouth move of son of a bitch. John, wait, are you frozen? You're not frozen.
No,
You're
my
nodding.
mic is frozen.
What is your microphone? You muted yourself.
No, it muted me.
Okay.
I
All right.
I had to figure out how to unmute myself. Oh, it's gonna be one of those shows. And I got to tell you something. The other day,
you got muted
you
again.
put a
God
picture
damn
up.
it!
What?
You got muted again. You didn't hear me yelling.
Yeah, I did. I heard you yell, God damn it. I was like, what do I do now? Zoe said, my win started with a week. Damn it. This is why we need a call-in number.
Or you know what? Next week I will check and be like, okay, the longer ones are here.
No,
I'll
no, I can do it.
I know you can.
I know. I even have
you get more frustrated with yourself than I do.
I do. Tuesday and after lunch, gave in and grabbed the cupcake. Then another. I would have Seymour. Damn it, John.